Yes, you read that thumbnail correctly. This is the failed attempt of Dr. Stasis to become a Dominion. Now, if you remember, if you've been keeping up with the channel, we talked about this in IMMORTAL X-MEN number 18, where Professor Xavier and Sinister were going over this, and I said right then and there, I can't wait to read this story. I didn't think it would be here this soon. Here we are. We're going to learn how Bargain Bin Sinister failed, and now that'll be the last time in this video I will say Bargain Bin Sinister, because it's pretty cool in this. My name is Dorian, this is SCM Comics, and we are continuing our coverage of the Fall of the House of X with Rise of the Power of X number 1. So the story starts off 10 plus years into the future, and we're at the Tower of Nimrod. That's a dumb name. Orchis Tower, Omega Tower, you know, like all those sound better than the Tower of Nimrod. The only thing that sounds dumber than the Tower of Nimrod would be the Tower of Stasis. You know what? I said I was going to leave alone this video. And it's Nimrod and Omega Sentinel, and Nimrod's like they really thought they could win as they stand over Emma Frost. Now, she's in her diamond form, but she is dead as a doornail. And Omega Sentinels let Nimrod know how where she came from in her timeline. They pretty much beat all the robots and they burned Nimrod with Phoenix Fire. And that's why they sent her back, to make sure that they don't get too confident and then they make a mistake. Nimrod's like, but look, they sent you back and we won. You stopped what was going to happen. It's like the Terminator having a happy ending. I see you, Kieron Gillen. But then Omega Sentinel's pretty much like, no, if they did it once, they can do it again, so let's be on guard. And then Nimrod's pretty much explaining how they took over Orchis. All the robotic beings have now taken over Orchis and got rid of all the humans, which we kind of see that starting in House of the Power of X. You know, Scott kind of let them know, hey, when you win, this is what's going to happen. And now Karen, you know, the scientist, Dr. Gregor, is slightly starting to see that. So we'll see what happens. But of all the humans that they got rid of, they decided to keep Dr. Stasis. And that was a huge mistake. So Nimrod's is pretty much confident, like, calm down, we won, you know, there ain't nothing gonna happen. And Omega Sentinel's like, look, life will find a way. And now we're quoting Jurassic Park. And Nimrod's like, it doesn't matter, because tomorrow we meet our new god. We meet our god. And I was so confused at this point, but trust me, it'll make sense in the end. So now we cut to Gambit and Mystique. That's apparent. And Emma pretty much sacrificed herself so that they can get into the Henry Peter Gyrick Detention Center. So they're pretty much pinned down, and Gambit's like, there's only one way we can get out of here. I gotta do my last trick, and that's make my whole body go boom. Mystique's like, do it, and just know this. You were a good son-in-law despite everything. You made Rogue very happy. And then Gambit's like, now you get sentimental? And he goes flying into one of those Sentinels and everything goes up. So it seems like Mystique is talking to Professor Xavier, and she's like, Gambit got us out. Can you hear me? And he goes, I can. Good work. We'll take it from here. You can rest now. She grabs the gun and starts screaming, I'm coming, Irene. Now, where have I heard that before?
Oh, it's the worst one. This is a big one. I'm dying. You hear that, Elizabeth? I'm coming to join you, honey.
So then we cut to the broken sword in orbit, and all you hear is they're all dead, but they did it. And then we see X is actually Synch. So now in the book it says that Synch's body is starting to fail him because of his powers. Now my guess, and it's only a guess, is that he's been having to use all the powers that he's ever copied, and this is wrecking his body. That's why you see him in a hover chair. You got Iron Man, who is an AI imprint of Tony Stark that's in the suit right now, because Tony Stark died a long time ago. You got Captain Krakoa, who is Miss Marvel. I know Rob's probably having a conniption when he saw this. You got Shadow Tiger. I know some of you are saying, no, that is Kate Pride, that is Shadow Cat. No, that is Shadow Tiger, because she ate the Death Seed. And then you got Wolverine, who is, wait for it, Wolverine. And now we cut to deep space and we see that Moira X made the cut and she is with the machines. So Moira's in there. She's like, I think I've seen something like this similar in my 6th life. And Omega Sentinel's like, it's a simple plan. Pretty much we lost 1,000 years in the future to the mutants. So they sent me back with all the technology and all the plans to build this, which is a world mine, so that we could defeat the mutants and also attract a Dominion, because they feel like once the Dominion comes and they take the world mine and it combines with the Dominion, then they'll be outside of space and time and they'll be safe. there goes that mandate again, outside of space and time. And then Nimrod starts singing, one more sleep until we meet our God. So Mara's like, look, all I wanted to be is on the winning side, and after 10 lives, I finally am. And then Stasis shows up, and Nimrod's like, shh, human coming. So then Mara starts dogging them like, look, we got important AI business right now. The world mind's imminent. What do you want, Stasis? And Stasis is like, hey, I get it. You don't gotta beat me down like you did Phelon. Man, I wish I could have read that one. But he's like, hey, I got good and bad news. Good news is that we took out another X team. Bad news is that they was able to download certain files that were very important, like a certain imprint of Phelon. Now, did the Phelon know where you keep he who must not be named? He who must not be named, not he who remains. And Omega Sentinel starts flipping out. She's like, increase the security on Phobos now. So now, of course, we cut to Phobos, where X-Men team just teleported in. So they're pretty much like, hopefully we can slip in and out before anybody notices. But then Tony's like, they're increasing security. And they're like, can you handle it, Tony? And he goes, yeah, I think I can. No, I cannot. He gets fried. And then there's a very large boom and our heroes go flying. So the Mara's like, no, we are so close. Now Nimrod might be stupid. When it comes to knuckle up, you know he's down. He's like, one more fist fight and I guess we go bye-bye. Activate the world mind. We'll be back. Omega Sentinel's like, that's a huge risk. Any small error can ruin everything. You do not approach perfection with flaws. And then Nimrod's like, but it's a bigger risk not to. Like you said, they can still win, even now. So Mara is activating the world engine, and then Dr. Stasis is like, good luck, I'll go rally the human resources. So Stasis arrives back to Earth. He thanks Dr. Doom because I guess he took or maybe borrowed some kind of transportation technology from him. And then he says, to the vault. What? So then somebody who looks a lot like Seraphina is like, is it time? And Stasis is like, it's time. If you can't beat him, join him. As if we couldn't beat him. So now we go back to Phobos. So now Nimrod is doing his Nimrod thing. So he pretty much analyzed how the Death Seed has increased Kate's endurance and her phasing ability and her range, and how she can now fold space to translocate subjects via phasing shifts. So he adapts, because that's exactly what Nimrod does, and then he hits Kate with some kind of blast, takes her right out. And then he does something that he's also really good at, and that's gloating. He's like, who's next to join Krakoa in the grave? And then Captain Krakoa / Miss Marvel goes, come on, Rod, you know this. As long as any of us is living, Krakoa does too. So then Omega Sentinel is like, oh, Captain Krakoa, as if that's a problem we can't solve. Look at Mars, it's too late. And then all you hear is world mind initiation, world mind stable, world mind attempting contact, world mind contact achieved. And then the Dominion arrives looking all crazy, and Nimrod's like, hello God. So now Stasis gives his plan. You see, once he realized that the fix was in with the AIs, he pretty much took their technology that Omega Sentinel brought back, and while they were building it in the next 10 years, what he did was he made friends with the children on the vault. Time moves a hell of a lot faster in there, so they built it in 10 years. They've had probably thousands, hundreds of thousands of years to pretty much come up with a way to destroy it. He was also able to build a supreme intelligence of the greatest minds here on Earth to help the children on the vault also figure out this situation. Like I said, in this, he's pretty cool. So then he's talking to Seraphine and he goes, so the AI brings their god here and begs to join it. Instead, let's do the human thing and just kill it. So then Seraphine's like, so elegant, so beautiful, activate. Is it working? And Stasis is like, everyone will know in 7 minutes. If the sun goes out, we're golden. So that's exactly what happened. The sun goes out. Stasis is like, golden it is. And then Seraphine is like, a glorious day. Post-humanity is the future. By definition, whatever comes next is post-humanity. We can't lose. Why does everybody say those words? So then Nimrod's like, nice try, but daddy's here and he's here to take us home. No, that's not disturbing for a grown-ass male robot to say. So then he realizes that the sun just disappeared and he's like, what the hell's going on? So then Captain Krakoa is like, Sync, we need a distraction. And thank you. Why do all the distractions kill you in this book? Because he goes, one last sync. This will kill me. It's gotta be the right one. And then he goes, remember Apocalypse. And then he changes into him and goes, I do. Here's a reminder, and knocks the bejesus out of Nimrod. So then Captain Krakoa is like, the target is directly 523 meters away. And I guess Kate is actually still alive. And goes, can you phase shift one last time? And she goes, I'll try. Wolverine's like, Pete would have loved this. The world is ending and we're risking everything. So then Kate grabs Wolverine and he goes, one last fastball special, and she throws him into a portal. He comes out and he looks up and he goes, you're alive. So then we see it's our Mr. Sinister. Yes, I am Logan. They couldn't risk me having a failsafe. And he goes, a smart decision really, of course. I had a failsafe. I'm Mr. Sinister. I'm not without my plans. How are we getting out of here? What's going on? And the Wolverine goes, there's a failsafe? And Mr. Sinister's like, wait, no, I hear snitch. And he's stabbing the hell out of Mr. Sinister. So then all you hear is the Dominion attack vector fired. And then the children of the vault, I guess, have some kind of beam. They shoot it at the Dominion. And then Nimrod's like, what the hell is happening to our god? Really, what was going on is that beam was consuming the Dominion, and now the children of the vault have it. And then Seraphine goes, now we can upload it whenever we want. And then Dr. Stasis is like, we. What an ugly word, we. I prefer I. Activate, and you know it's a double cross. As now they fall down, because I guess he had them all booby trapped. So now what he says next, oh, it's so good. He's like, now I know you're terribly advanced, and I dare say you'll be back in control in about 30 seconds or so. But sadly, by then, I'll be something more profound than a god. But don't worry, you're part of my family too, children. I'll keep you safe. When I was reading this, I was like, Carlito. I'm like, that's cool. So then he puts on the helmet, he goes, yes, yes, yes. So you know what's about to happen. So then he goes, no. And he takes off the helmet and he goes, but it worked. And the Dominion is an empty husk, ready for my mind to take its place. Wait, no, it's been consumed by another Dominion. What and then he gets the stabbed out of him. She's like, he is dead. But no, I'm too late. It's done. So I'm assuming as Professor Xavier goes, then get out of there, Rasputin 4. The timeline's about to collapse. So the Nimrod goes, you're not my AI god. Let me tell you, Nimrod, there ain't enough adapting in the world that can help you with this mother. And the Dominion goes, oh, I am. Once I was a mortal man, but now I am an AI. I am Enigma, and I am your new god. So then it shows the Myra engines, and they're just kind of there. Then all you hear is beep, beep, beep. And then they explode in their little capsules. And then it goes, stasis timeline, reality ended. So we see here the battlefield of the rise of the power of X. We see the stasis timeline, which was 10 plus years, which they just failed at. We see the Sinister timeline. Are they going to go back to that? Are we going back to Sons of Sinister? I hope we go back to Sons of Sinister. Can't wait to read that. You got the Oba Solaris timeline, which is 15 plus years. Can't wait to see what that entails. M Crown Crystal, people. In Crown Crystal. We all obviously had the Among the Righteous one where we're in right now, which was Immortal X-Men number 18. I guess they might try to go back to that one because Destiny tried, but you know, Rasputin 4 didn't try. And I'm just waiting to be amazed. Come on, Kieron Gillen, I am ready for this. You got 4 more issues and I can't wait to see what they entail. But we're not done with the comic yet. So now we're in No Place X. Probably somewhere deep in Krakoa. And Rasputin 4 is like, I'm sorry, sir, I failed. And Professor Xavier goes, we succeeded in stopping stasis ascension 9 times. That's better than we achieved with the other X's clones. I am so confused. He's like, we knew it was likely impossible to prevent the Enigma Dominion from likely coming into existence, but we had to try. And now we must walk a harder path. And he goes, Doug, how goes the X-Men attack on Orchis? Yes, after months, we finally see what happened to Doug, or Cypher. He's like, they're hitting the primary targets. The sword station is deploying. Expect the AI to start fighting back. He's like, none of them realize what's really happening. They're fighting for tomorrow, we're fighting for forever. And we can't fuck up like this again in Rasputin 4. Now, I like Doug, but I'm sorry. When you talking to her, you better watch your mouth. She will pimp smack you into next week. Just as the thing. So Professor Xavier had to check him. Let him know, hey, you might want to calm down. And he apologizes and goes, hey, I'm just not myself. He's like, this Enigma thing got me worried. He's a ghost in the timeline and he's just petrifying. So then he goes, I'll let the rest know the bad news. We move to the contingency plan. I don't know who the rest is, but I guess we'll find out in the next issue. So Professor Xavier doesn't want to let Rasputin forward what the contingency plan is, and she doesn't want her to know about the big plan, just because if Enigma catches her, then he can pretty much do what he wants to with her and get whatever information that she has out of her. But she is persistent, and she's like, if you want me to proceed, you need to let me know about the plan. And he goes, very well, I was trying to not let you know about this because it is gory, but if you want to know, I'll let you know. He goes, next we're going to strike here. And she's like, what happens then? He's like, well, the whole timeline will fall apart. The Dominion will cease to assist because we're going to cut it off by the root. And then we see Myra McTaggart as a child. And he goes, if we kill off Myra before her gifts activates when she's 13, it all goes away. And Krakoa will never have been or never will be. Yes, this man is pretty much saying Enigma is so much of a threat that he is ready to restart everything. Is Professor Xavier not just going to kill Myra, but kill her as a child? Not if one of the old Myras have anything to do with it. My name is Dorian. This is SCM Comics. We are continuing our coverage of the Fall of the House of X with Rise of the Power of X #2. So our story starts off in the past with a young, barely a teenager Myra, and she is sprinkling salt on her porch. Never had porch. Closest thing I probably ever had was cream of wheat, and we definitely didn't put salt on it. You use sugar and butter. That's it. Now, if you notice, there is a crown in the very first narration bubble. So this is Enigma observing her in the past. And he goes, in 22 minutes, her X gene will activate and she will fall twitching, and her life will be tied to time itself. In her 10th life, she has a new plan. She might as well try it. She tried everything else. She is mistaken. There is one more thing she could try. I will offer it to her, not now, later. On the next page, you see Jean right before she encounters the Phoenix on the space shuttle. It also shows Scott as a very young boy when he lost his parents in a plane crash. Well, yes and no. It's a very long story. We don't got time to get into it, but yeah, it's a long story. And then they show Scott still blindfolded being held by Orchis. And he thinks that, well, Jean's gonna come save me, but he doesn't know. Enigma knows, but he doesn't know that Jean barely hanging on because Mother Righteous stabbed her in the chest. And then he says that I also see the X-Men fighting for a future that has already lost because he feels like he already won. And then he says he can see everybody, but he can't find Xavier. He sees him in the past fighting with Cain Marko, his brother, stepbrother. Sorry about that. He sees him messing with one of the Myra engines at Krakoa, and then he said he lost him. And he's like, where are you, you troublesome man? What are you doing? I will find you. Now, the reason why he can't find him is because he is in No Place X, which is also outside of space and time. Then we hear Professor Xavier say the first plan has failed. Now we must proceed to the second plan. This is somewhat difficult. So then Rachel chimes in and she's like, we're playing hide and seek with something that can see us anywhere in existence. Difficult isn't really saying how bad it is. So Professor Xavier is like, yes, Rachel, I know, but, and then all of a sudden all you hear is but nothing. And then we see Mother Righteous is in a bubble. And she's like, we can't fight it, love. It's one. The plan is just not going to work. So then Mother Righteous is talking to Cypher and she's like, but I know what you're doing wrong and I can help you. Just let me out. So Cypher's like, I know every language in the universe, including body language. I don't even need my gift to tell that you're lying. And you're being all the use you are as a radio. Now, I really don't understand what he meant about that. You're gonna kind of see what he meant about that, but I don't see how this is working. But do I really need to know? No. It's comics. So Professor Xavier chimes in and goes, and her being a radio is useful. We face a problem that we can only achieve if we merge our talents. That Mother Righteous is doing it under duress changes nothing, and she is under duress. We are all responsible. We will defeat this problem together. And then Mother Righteous, ever the sinister, goes, I'm not one of your students. Don't patronize me, ducky. So what now? So Professor Xavier starts to explain how they're going to go back in time and try to reach Myra before her mutant gene activates. And traveling back in time isn't really an issue because there's several ways to go time travel. The problem is that the Dominion has Arachno Sentinels that's watching the timeline and watching that exact moment to see if anybody's going to try to make an attempt. And trust me, these Arachno Sentinels look crazy as hell, which you'll see here in a minute. And Professor Xavier feels like that they can dodge them once, but only once. so they need to choose where to strike carefully. So the Cypher chimes in and goes, I think we should just go back and shoot Myra in the delivery ward. Now, there is a reason why he's acting like this. Like, it's going to be explained here in a minute, but before, I'm just reading this, I'm like, man, what the hell is wrong with Cypher, man? I mean, like, he needs like a huge hug because he ain't acting the way he normally acts. So Professor Xavier pretty much checks him and goes, you shouldn't say things like that. Even if we consider to do something that monstrous, we need to know exactly when we can go back. And we can't trust anything other than a biological Myra. In other words, a Myra that doesn't have the cybernetics. And Rachel goes, that's where my team steps in to go through the multiverse to find a biological Myra. Now, for those of you guys that watched that X-Men, yes, they are backtracking because we know that they already achieved this mission. So the Mother Righteous chimes in and goes, it's outside of time. It's already won. Whatever we do, it cannot change anything. It's already escaped causality. So the Rasputin 4 chimes in and just lays it on her. She goes, you lied to me. I think you're lying to yourself. You're scared of hope. You are scared of the monster that you helped build. Think, Enigma doesn't want us to go there, hence his offenses in the time stream. That implies that there is something that someone can do that he is scared of. And then Doug chimes in and goes, maybe there's a limitation caused by Mara in the timeline. Maybe it can't put its defenses up too early. Maybe it doesn't want us back in the 19th century messing with him making us clones. Or maybe it's a trap. But it really doesn't matter. This is all we got. This isn't David vs. Goliath. This is 5 ants going up against Galactus. So then Professor Xavier is like, correct Doug, this is a long shot. So then Rasputin 4 is like, Mother Righteous? And we see that Mother Righteous is still in the White House room with a gun pointed to her head. And that's why I was saying earlier, I don't understand how Mother Righteous is in 2 places at once. She's definitely in No Place X in that bubble because they even said that she can't use any of her magic spells in the bubble. But also, somehow she's definitely in the White Hot room and Hope is pointing a gun to her head and she's like, Hope sends her love. So now for everybody who watched Dead X-Men #1, if you were wondering, like I was wondering how the hell they came back, now we see how. Because in the White Hot room, they have the 5 and they can resurrect people. So this is how they came back. So the Mother Righteous is like, can you please get her not point the gun on my head? And Professor Xavier's like, Hope doesn't really take orders from me. She really never has. And how did she get a gun in there? So Mother Righteous is like, well, besides the one she wore at the gala, she telekinetically, I had to say that I don't know how many times to get that right, assembled one together that is an exact copy of the 9mm that Cable gave her. It's like her comfort gun. So the Rasputin 4 is like, as a curious adoptive father and a resourceful girl, she was worshipped where I'm from, though it was a strange religion. And if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, she's talking about Sons of Sinister. There will be a card appearing on the screen and there'll be a link in the description to the playlist. So then Rachel's like, how's everything going in the White Hot room? And then we see Elixir trying to use his mutant powers to heal Jean, and she keeps saying now and forever, now and forever. And then we see a light go up from where they're at. Now, I don't know what this means, but it's probably important, so that's why I'm covering it. So Mother Righteous answers Rachel's question and goes, not great. And Doug goes, and why is that? And Mother Righteous goes, because I tried to sacrifice the Phoenix to achieve dominionhood. So then Doug slaps the bubble and goes, I know all the words and there is none that manage to sum up how despicable I find you. Again, this is not how Cypher normally acts. So again, Professor Xavier has to calm Doug down and then asks about Rachel's team and if they're ready or not. Again, if you watch Dead X-Men, you know exactly what we're talking about. If not, cards on the screen, link will be in the description. So then the next page kind of confused me because I thought Enigma found them and then did his Enigma thing. But actually, he's saying how he knows that they're somewhere outside of space and time. He doesn't know where yet, but he knows they're somewhere. So he's sending his Arachno Sentinels, which that's what they look like, and they look crazy, to kind of like spin webs so that if they tripped on one, then they know exactly where to look. So then Rasputin 4 goes, Rachel doesn't know about the plan, does she? So Professor Xavier is like, she knows enough. She doesn't know that I plan on killing Myra. She suspects that I might depower her, but when one can be repowered, that's not going to be an option. Then he's like, Rachel knows about the final goal, and this is a step towards it. She's correct. But the final plan is the longest of long shots and risk all of reality if we're wrong. It might even be worse than letting the Enigma Dominion win. I thought I had a grasp on what was going on and what was at stake, but after hearing that, I don't know anything. So the Professor Xavier is like, Rachel has belief and I no longer have that luxury. I have to clean up the mess that we've made no matter what. So Rasputin 4 is like, do you really believe that? I come from a place where Krakoa was a dream and I long to see it. And then Professor Xavier is like, you come from a hellish dimension that Krakoa birthed. Myra once told me it's not a dream if it's real. That phrase keeps coming up, so that must be important. So the Rasputin 4 is like, look, Sinister used me as a pawn, Mother Righteous used me as a pawn, I'm not going to be anybody's pawn anymore. So then there's a big explosion and Rachel's like, is it too soon? You only tried 10 timelines and haven't found what we're looking for yet. She's talking about the dead X-Men team. So then Doug's like, I could fire a secondary tendril and move us to safety, but I'm going to need some time. Rasputin 4 is like, you'll have it. So let me do what I do. So she goes outside the ship and we see this crazy looking Sentinel. I guess these are the Enigma Sentinels. And she goes, I was made for this. And then she does her thing. Doug goes, I see the Psychics has been having a good old chat. We see Rasputin 4 destroy the Sentinel that was in front of her, but there's like 4 more behind him, so she's gonna need some help. So then he goes, I wanted to eavesdrop, but then that will reveal what else I have loaded into his clone, and we see that Sinister is inside Doug, and that's why he's been acting ass. And Professor Xavier goes, put that away, Nathaniel, talking about his diamond. You shouldn't play games. You know she'll never forgive you. That's him nicely saying that Rasputin 4 will murk you. So while that's going on, one of the Sentinels is grabbing Rasputin 4 by his mouth, and then we see Sinister Doug, or Doug Sinister, however you want to say it, goes, I know, I apparently made her and then lied to her for a few centuries. Boo-hoo, what a crybaby. Yeah, she'll definitely murk this dude. So then the Sentinel's about to chomp down on Rasputin 4, and he goes mutant neutralized, and she yells no and lets out this crazy blast that destroys the Sentinel, and she's yelling never. So she took out that Sentinel, but there's still like 4 of them that they're dealing with. They're starting to break into Nowhere X, and Doug's like, all right, we got the time we need it. It's time to get her out of here. And Professor Xavier's like, we can't leave Rasputin 4. We got to pick her up too. So Sinister Doug manages to whip back around and sends out a lifeline to her that she grabs, and then they take off. So Rasputin 4 climbs back aboard. Professor Xavier looks defeated as hell, but then Rachel goes, hey, good news, the team did it. But they got the information that they needed, which again, if you watch Dead X-Men #1, you already knew that. So Professor Xavier gets ready to go through the timeline to deal with Myra. He tells Rasputin 4 to hold down the fort. Rachel goes, good luck to you. You know, go ahead and have a word with her. Professor Xavier's like, yeah, just a word. So now on this next page, this is only a guess, but I'm guessing this is the main 616 timeline when the X-Men war is going on. I'm guessing. You got Myra running and she's like, Nimrod, give me a damn update. And he goes, our human allies are crumbling. We are prepared to take the next step. And then it looks like Nimrod has been taken out, and all you read is, you lucked out to join just in time. In 10 years time, we'll be part of the perfect good machine. The AIs will be the only winners here. But then on the last page, we see Enigma go, they don't win, I win. So let's talk. So I read this comic at work. I work night shift. I get off at 6 o'clock in the morning. It is 7 o'clock in the morning right now. I took a shower and I'm like, I can't go to sleep. This comic got me so emotional, I can't go to sleep. So we might as well go ahead. We need to talk about this comic right now. And I want your guys' opinion, not to like boost engagement. I don't care how many views this video gets. I just need to talk to somebody about this comic. It is crazy. And I honestly want your opinion. I don't care about the engagement. I want your opinion. Because there are things that happen in this comic that is just, we just need to get started. My name is Dorian, this is SCM Comics. We are continuing our coverage of the Fall House of X with Rise of the Power of X #3. So the story starts off, no, scratch that. I'm confused and I need one of you guys to explain this to me like I am a 5-year-old, because I don't understand what's going on. Let me explain. So throughout this whole series, all they've been talking about is getting back to Myra's first life. Getting back to Myra's first life before her powers activate, right? Well, her very first life was uneventful. She lived a normal life. She got married, had kids, grew old, and died. And then that's when her powers activated. In the womb, she recalled her whole first life. So she had her standard intelligence in the womb. That's frightening. So on this first page, she's like, hey, this is the last day because my power is going to activate. And then she's going into her garden and she sees Professor Xavier and she recognizes him. Like, she knows this man, not like from pictures, but from having conversations with him. So how is that possible? Like, what life is this? Is this first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth?
Help me! Help me! Help me!
And this ain't my Professor Xavier. I don't want the one that walks. I want the one that's in the wheelchair and got some morals. This one, whew, man. He goes, don't run, Myra. It won't do any good. I've frozen everyone within a half a mile. I just want to talk. And she knows what's about to go down. Because she goes, no, Xavier, you don't. This is the day my gift activates. You come here today for only one reason. Again, which life is this?
Help me! Help me!
And he goes, no, you're wrong, old friend. I do want to talk. I need you to understand what is happening and why. And she goes, you want to talk? As the blicky is in his hand, he goes, for one last time. So now we cut to where the last video left off, where Myra was talking to Enigma, because Enigma decided to talk to Myra directly. And she's like, so you're a Dominion. Have I met you before? Because I've met some Dominions. And he goes, company. As Omega Sentinel comes out of nowhere. So Omega Sentinel's like, Myra, we need you. We're moving on to phase 2. Humanity has served its purpose. And Myra's like, give me a second, Omega Sentinel. I'll be right with you. So Omega Sentinel flies away. And now Enigma just starts leaving her notes. No, you haven't met me. She has. In fact, I brought her here. So if you've been keeping up with all this X-Men stuff, you know that Omega Sentinel came from the future. We thought that the machines sent her from the future to the past to make sure that things go their way, but really, I guess it was Enigma. Now, how important is this page? I don't think it's terribly important, but if you look at I is really interesting. It says, world mind. Using the knowledge of the future, Orchis transforms Mars into a world mind in 10 years, 1,000 years before it should be possible. They attract a friendly Dominion and then ascend, escaping any possible harm from the destructive mutants. So it's Nimrod the one who is setting all this stuff in motion. So they are going to create a world mind to attract a Dominion. Technically, they already did attract a Dominion. They attracted Enigma. So why are they going through all this craziness? Like, I don't understand.
Help me! Help me!
She goes, okay, I get that. But why do you want me to join you? You join me and I'll be able to travel to the timelines of your previous lives, a far larger space to which you are the only key. As it is, I am trapped inside this timeline and its dependents. So this dude's supposed to be all powerful, yet and still he can travel to the different lives that Myra lived. Rachel Summers can, but he can't. Dude, this all powerful thing is looking real sus right now. He continues, however, even with these limitations, I can still assist Nimrod with his present AI uprising. And Myra goes, that's great for us AIs, but what's in it for me? And he goes, educated self-interest. This I can work with. So now we switch to No Place X, which is outside the space and time. And we got Rasputin 4, who is tearing up these hunter-killer sentinels that Enigma said. And she's talking to Doug, or Cypher, who we know is really Sinister. And she's like, hurry up, Ramsey, you're starting to breach. So Sinister, yeah, you know what, we're just gonna call him Sinister. It's like, hey, we need more time. We need to produce more tendrils. And then Rachel's like, we all need time. Xavier needs more time to finish this mission with Myra. Mother Rice is still in that bubble. She's like, let me out, I can help. And Rasputin 4 is like, don't you listen to her. She is a Sinister. Do not listen to her. So then she finds out about Doug. How do you think that's gonna go? So all of a sudden, a Sentinel hand comes through the ship right next to Doug, and he goes, Rasputin, reach. So now we switch back to Charles and Myra, and Myra's like, does it not work? Or does it go badly? Or no, let me rephrase. Is it bad enough to make Charles Xavier do this? So Charles goes, the man I was before wouldn't have. but I am the man that's left behind after you convinced me that the best way was to compromise. And then you betrayed us, because actually all this was to save your own skin. So she's like, I don't understand what I did exactly. All I know is that I don't want to die. I want to live. I'm trapped. So then Charles is like, we're all trapped, Myra. To be human is to be trapped. You were a fool to think that being a mutant changed that. And I was a fool to let you convince me. Damn me and damn you too. So the Myra just starts running. She's like, you gotta catch me. And Charles just pretty much starts doing a whole bunch of self-loathing. How he was an orphan, how he just wanted to be loved, have a family, and then how he wanted both of those things, but then he found out he couldn't have both, so he had to choose one. So he's choosing one, and then he pretty much freezes her in place because, you know, he uses his psychic ability. So then Charles is like, you told me it's not a dream if it's real. It needs to be a dream again. Xavier, the curator of dreams, is dead. We killed him, you and I together. The dream must go on without me, and finally the world must go on without you. So now we switch back to No Place X. The Sentinel is about to kill Sinister. He goes, activate failsafe untouchable, or I guess with a force field around him. Rasputin 4 comes out of nowhere and says, get away from him, and cuts off the Sentinel's hand. So the Sinister is like, tendrils attached, we're moving, that'll buy us a few minutes. Rasputin 4 is like, the breach is sealed, that was close. How did you? And then she turns around and see a diamond on Doug's forehead, because I guess when he turns on the force field, it forced out the diamond. And he goes, now please, don't rush to conclusions, girl. I swear I'm a part of the plan, and we are all on the same side. So the Rasputin 4 is like, if it's your plan, it's wrong. We have to abort. Rachel is not Ramsey, it's Sinister. Rachel's like, what? And Rasputin 4 is like, we have to stop Xavier from killing Myra. And Rachel's like, Xavier is going to kill Myra? So then we switch back to Charles and Myra's like, still haven't pulled the trigger yet. Hard to kill a child. She's like, I've known you for most of my lives. I probably know you better than you know yourself. Are you really going to go through with this? Like, there's no other way forward? A kinder way? So Xavier's like, this is the kindest way available for us. The other way is worse. And Myra is like, the best way is to lead the course of a child in her family garden. And Xavier goes, yes it is. Isn't that petrifying? Out of nowhere, all you hear is no. And Rasputin 4 comes out of nowhere and goes, get away from her. So Xavier is able to put up a force field right before Rasputin 4's swords hit. And she goes, you stand with Sinister, you're following his plan, and then you lied to me about it? So while Rasputin 4 is attacking him violently, Xavier is trying to explain himself, and he goes, it wasn't his plan, it's my plan. And then he just goes, I don't have the time or the patience to explain to you or anybody else what's going on. Hate me, fine. As long as I save you guys, you could hate me. And he has these two sinister diamonds in his hand, and he throws them, and they turn into these sinister chimeras. And I'm just asking myself as I'm reading this, like, how is this Charles Xavier? Like,
What the hell's going on out here?
so then Rasputin 4 is like, I kill an army of them to get to you. And Xavier's like, bet you will. Question is can you do it in time? I think not. So he goes, Myra, stop. And she stops. He's about to shoot her. And all of a sudden Rachel Summer goes, hey, you may not need to explain anything to anyone, but anyone wants to explain something to you before you do this. My team didn't go through all this just for you to just wipe everything out like it never happened. Especially like this. This is how you beat Enigma. So then Professor Xavier thinks, and he thinks, and he thinks. Then he goes, you don't know what you're asking me, Rachel, but I won't destroy Krakoa. I'll save mankind another way. So the Myra's like, what are you doing? Professor Xavier's like, I'm hoping you're going to make the right decision in the end, that you'll be thinking something other than yourself. Now listen, Myra, I don't know what he tells her in her head, but she goes, what and he goes, and you'll forget about all this. So he goes to Rasputin 4 and is like, we need to clean up all this stuff before we get out of here. There can't be any traces that we were here. Rasputin 4 is like, don't worry about it. The mistakes will be straightened up. So now we switch to Enigma and Myra in a text thread. Actually, it's not a text thread. Enigma is like projecting directly in her mind. Damn that, it's a text thread. So the first two is pretty much explaining how he was projecting everything in this text thread. So the Myra goes, what's the offer, space god? So Enigma goes, the minions are constructed from intelligence. World minds are 10 million, titans are 100 million, The minions are at least 10 titans combined. The more the merrier. I will have more. I will be absorbing all the intelligence in this locale in the near future. The Myra goes, this AI rapture the Nimrod and Omega Sentinel wants. It seems intriguing. The Azores are no longer themselves in any meaningful way. They're not even there. They are part of the greater whole, neutrons in the mind of a god, firing according to its will. So Myra goes, I think my AI colleagues would be interested in knowing this. He goes, I cannot be stopped. In this timeline, the Phoenix is dead. Okay, let me stop right there. He'll go on to say, like, you know, I arranged this and so on and so forth, and then he gives her a choice. He pretty much tells her that I can absorb you, but you'll have your own consciousness, so you won't be like all the others. Choose, and she chooses yes. Now, let me talk to you. Now, I remember when Jonathan Hickman came out with all this stuff about the world mind, about the Dominions, and so on and so forth. And it clearly said that the three things that the Dominion fears is the World Eater, Galactus, and the Phoenix. That's what it said. The World Eater, Galactus, and the Phoenix. And I'm not gonna lie, when One Above All was talking to Blue Marvel about Enigma, I'm like, what the hell is he worried about? He's the one above all. But if he's worried, then this dude must be a lot stronger than what's being told or what's being led on. But that right there shows that he is still a normal, regular Dominion, and the Phoenix can take him out. He don't want none of that smoke. That's why he set it up to where Jean gets knifed and the Phoenix is dying, because he don't want that smoke from the Phoenix. So truth be told, since he don't want the smoke from the Phoenix and he took out the Phoenix, all we gotta do is call Reed Richards and say, hey, put a call on the Galactus to come in. He don't want that smoke either. I guarantee he don't want that smoke. So let me know. Can the Phoenix beat Enigma? Can Galactus beat Enigma? Like, it's all powerful thing. I'm not going for it anymore. I'm sorry. I'm just not impressed anymore. Like, for a while, I'm thinking this dude's gonna be like, no, he's gonna take up everybody's books and it's gonna span the whole summer and it's gonna take everybody to take him out. And I'm thinking like, maybe not so much. Kieron Gillen, I'm from Ohio, but I'm actually from Missouri because you're gonna have to show me. So back to Myra. She said yes. And she goes, so all I gotta do is open up a port right here. And he goes, yep, stand right there. Something goes into her eye. You turn to the next page. It looks all crazy. It looks like planets all forming. The next thing you know, Omega Sentinel comes out of nowhere and goes, hurry up, Myra. We need you. And then Myra goes, I've got some good news. A Dominion has made contact. They want to help us. Now, 14 minutes into this video, this is when the story goes way left. So Sinister's talking shit to Xavier, talking about that you didn't do it, and he thinks everything is cool when Rasputin 4 just starts charging. Xavier grabs Rasputin 4 and goes, stop, we need him. And she goes, really? We need him? Like Krakoa needed him? Look how that turned out, sir. And Xavier goes, very well, and lets him go. And all Sinister could get out was, Xavier, you absolute, before that sword is all up in his stomach, and he is done. Done. Flip fork at him. Well, I guess the sword went in to him. So Rasputin 4 goes, that felt good. I hate that felt good. I was made by him. That I enjoyed that speaks how bad of a father he was to me. And Xavier goes, the feeling of shame for yourself is sometimes necessary. Who do this dude think he's talking to? Like, you let her go. You let her kill him. Like, you shouldn't be giving any advice to anybody right now. So then Rachel starts giving Xavier the business, talking about, damn right it is, Xavier, you, how could you? And he goes, sometimes shame is a cause, Rachel. It was the best option we had. The alternative is worse. It is so much worse and more unlikely, but you win. We'll try it. So then Rachel's like, we'll resurrect the Phoenix. It'll work. I know it will. And Professor Xavier goes, Rachel, I know it's late for this, but you should know I'm sorry. And shoots her in the back. What the hell is going on? Like, oh my god. I read the Onslaught saga. I saw the whole progression of Xavier pretty much turning bad. I remember reading when he sent that second team before he sent the second team with Gabriel Summers, and they all died and he had to wipe the whole memory from Cyclops. I mean, Xavier has done some bad things. This one might take the cake. Like, I don't know how he comes back from this one. Like, He's either going to be a really good bad guy for the X-Men, or they're going to kill him. That's all I can say. I mean, maybe there's a third alternative. I don't know, Kieron Gillen. Guess we're about to find out. But, man, Rachel? Like, this ain't my Xavier. This is not my Xavier. Let me know in the comments how you feel, because this is not my Xavier. Now, I like to blame Kieron Gillen for this whole assassination attempt on Charles Xavier, but maybe it's not even him. Maybe it's Jet McKay, because he's taking over in the summertime. Maybe he went to Kieron Gillen and was like, you know what, I don't feel like dealing with that bald-headed bastard, so why don't you take him out in your story? Like, not only did he kill Rachel, but on top of that, he's talking about preserving the dream. The dream was to have mutants and humans exist side by side together in peaceful harmony. Soon as you start taking out humans, that dream's done. Like, it's over. You're Magneto. And with Magneto, at least we know that's what comes with him. And Charles fought against that for decades. And now all of a sudden it's okay. And I know we're trying to stop the Dominion and everything else, but it's always something that's going to take out the Earth. I mean, these are comic books. There's always a big bad out there that's going to take out the world. I mean, that's what happens. But Charles never ever wavered on his morals until now. And it continues in this book. My name is Dorian. This is SCM Comics. We are continuing our coverage of the Fall of the House of X with Rise of the Power of X number 4. So the story starts off in No Place X, where there is a whole bunch of Enigma Sentinels that surrounding the little ship in No Place X, and all you hear is Xavier no, as Charles is fresh off of killing Rachel. Now, to Rasputin 4's credit, she didn't waste a nanosecond getting to the business of killing Charles Xavier. She grabs that sword and swings for the fences, well, his head. And to give Charles Xavier credit, he actually got out the way. So he goes, I'm sorry. They ain't gonna cut it here, homeboy. So then Charles is like, Mother Righteous, you got the power to stop her, right? If you do, I'll free you. Mother Righteous didn't even bat an eyelash. She goes, I'm in, sweetie. Says some kind of incantation and freezes her right before Rasputin 4 sends that sword through Charles's chest. So then Charles is like, normally I would thank somebody for what you just did, but you see why I don't. Mother Righteous is like, you catching on? Charles goes, slowly, and I am catching on. And he goes, we need to move in position. Rasputin 4, I turned off your pain receptors. Because of your gift, it makes you really durable, so it's going to take us a while. And starts blasting her in her head multiple times. So Rasputin 4 finally falls. And Charles is like, you find this amusing? And Mother Righteous is like, no, I just had some time thinking that bubble. I actually figured out a way to dissolve my doppelganger that's in the white hot room, so you're no longer pointing a gun in my head. And believe it or not, that's actually very important. That's why I brung it up right here. So, I mean, you'll see in the next video. So then Charles is like, yeah, well, I'm pretty sure you're going to figure out a way to betray me, but right now you can't do anything because you're out of power from your Dominion attempt. And Mother Righteous is like, I'm a resourceful girl. I'll figure out a way to be useful. And Charles is like, you already have. Next thing you know, he hits something on the screen. Mother Righteous is like, what are you doing? They go from No Place X back to the Pacific side of Krakoa. Ship's all wrecked. She's knocked out. And Charles is like, I have her. So now we're in an Orchis facility. Charles is tied up and Omega Sentinel comes up because she's just shocked and wants to see exactly why Charles is here. This is pretty much the conversation before the conversation of Fall of House of X in a nutshell. And pretty much it's the same conversation that Charles had with Nimrod that he's having with Omega Sentinel. So technically he had the conversation with Omega Sentinel before he had the conversation with Nimrod. I know it's very confusing. But in essence, he wants to help the AIs by taking out the humans as long as the AIs leave the mutants alone. In a nutshell. Omega Sentinel's like, so what are you going to do to prove your loyalty? And he's like, I'm Charles Xavier. Technically, I am the ultimate Sentinel. So now we cut to White Hot Room and the 5 bring back Rachel. And the first thing out of Rachel's mouth is, hey, Charles Xavier killed me. He's going to do something terrible. And then you got Destiny. And she goes, we know. God, Destiny would get on my nerves if she was like a real person. Like, holy crap. Like, you could have let me know that Charles was going to do all this craziness because you saw it, you know, and he could have been like, hey, Rachel, we need to get your White Hot Room, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kill you. All right. You know, just tell her. not just, you know, shooting in the back and there you go. Because me, personally, if I'm Rachel, when I got back, I'll be putting my Omega level foot straight up his ass. So obviously Rachel is hot. It's not just her hair on fire, but she's also pissed. And she's just floating in the air, and then Hope and Exes go up there to try to comfort her. And then Hope's like, look, none of us like this. And I'm sorry we couldn't tell you, but obviously you know why we couldn't. But now that you're here, hopefully you can kickstart the Phoenix is kicking them his ass. And then we can go down there and we can kick whatever's ass left of Orchis. So Rachel, she's coming around. She's still pissed, but she's coming around. And she's like, you know what, I can't help out with the Phoenix, but I can't help as far as getting us out of here. Like, I can't get us out the White Hot Room. And then Hope's like, we got a plan for that. Let me just say the hits, they just keep on coming. On the next page, we see Omega Sentinel taking Charles Xavier through his paces. She's pretty much like, we can't get rid of all of the human scientists. We got to keep some around. But I want to know which ones are planning to betray us. So Professor X goes, give me a second. These are the ones. So then Nimrod does his Nimrod thing and takes out the scientists and then starts laughing about it. So then Charles is like, what next? And then Omega Sentinel's like, world leaders are starting to organize against us. We need you to do something about that. Professor Xavier was like, okay. I added a cognitive drain to them all. Not enough to have them replaced, but enough to render them useless. So Professor Xavier is like, all right, what's next? And Omega Sentinel is like, well, you might as well go ahead and find that little island of yours, Krakoa, and go ahead and put out his misery. And Professor Xavier is like, I'm disappointed. I thought that, you know, you guys being our superiors, that you wouldn't gloat. So Omega Sentinel's like, don't you try that with me. I'm from the future. I know what happens, and the mutants kill us all. Genocide doesn't have a side. Besides, the future is what you make it. Now, if you come to gloat, I would have expected Moira to do it. And then we cut to Moira, and she's like, wow, we got Xavier, he's selling out humanity for the mutants. No more humans. I can't believe it. And then Nick was like, don't trust it. Like, he knows about me, he's up to something. And Moira was like, so I can't go talk to him? And Nick was like, absolutely not. And we cut back to the White Hot Room, and we have the dead X-Men. I'm really gonna have to figure out a new name for them because they're not the dead X-Men no more. And Rachel and the walking Jean, or the Phoenix, and they're walking around to like this funeral pyre. And then Rachel kisses her on the head and says, good luck, Mom. I'll see you soon. And then walks away. So now Hope is having a meeting with the rest of the mutants that's there, and they're pretty much saying how Apocalypse has Krakoa, but he's on the run and he's gonna need some help, and they're gonna need to be there, pretty much be the cavalry for, you know, the X-Men, since there's a lot of them. And Hope's like, and there's only one way for us to do this. Now you see Rasputin, they brought her back, and when she turns around and see what their plan is and who's involved in it, she loses her shit. It is our tried and true original Sinister, and I guess he still has Doug Ramsey's powers, which is Cypher, so he's able to talk to Krakoa. And Rasputin jumps right up on him and gets right back to doing what she was doing last time, and that's killing him. I mean, she is choking this dude out, and he is trying to plead his case. She ain't trying to hear it. And he goes, look, if we get us back and we do what we need to do, after that you can kill me, or maybe I'll redeem myself. And she goes, you won't. And he goes, you're learning. Then we cut to Earth, and we got Apocalypse, and he is running for his apocalyptic life because there's just a few more Sentinels that he can fight off. So he decided to run. So he needs some help, and he needs some help quick. So all of a sudden, from one of these huge plants that's on Krakoa, it says falls over. And then we turn to the next page, and all these X ladies are just coming out of these flowers, and they're like, spring is here. So then Omega Sentinel goes to Professor Xavier and is like, do you want to know how many humans you killed so far? And Professor Xavier's like, not particularly. And then Omega Sentinel's like, well, your X-Men are trying to destroy our solar weapon. If they succeed, then we're going to need an alternative plan, which, if you read Fall of the House of X #4, they did. So, spoiler alert. Or you could just check it out right here. And so Omega Sentinel's like, we're going to need an alternative. And Professor Xavier's like, I've already got the nuclear codes. So, whenever you're ready, I got them. And then he goes, For once, the mutants need to be on the winning side. But then he sees Moira. So then we cut to Rachel and Exodus, and they are tearing up some Stark Sentinels. And Rachel's kind of looking at Exodus, and she still doesn't really trust him, because not the last time they met, but you know, Exodus used to be a villain, like a really bad villain. And Rachel remembers that, so she's still kind of like standoffish when it comes to Exodus. But she's like, as long as you're doing this for the mutants and for Krakoa, I'll trust you. Then we cut to Mother Righteous, and she is in an Orchis prison facility, and she is sweating like a hooker in church. And she should be, because Enigma pays her a visit, asks her some questions, and she sings like a canary. I mean, she didn't hold back anything. So once he finds out that they're trying to bring back the Phoenix, Enigma hops on the Dominion phone and calls up other Dominions, like, you know, they're a messenger or something. And he's like, hey, they're trying to bring back the Phoenix. If they do, can I get your help, please? Like, that's not what an all-powerful being is supposed to do. And he is waiting on a response from him. And then we see Jean, and it says wait on response. And now she's on fire. She's waiting on a response. And now she's surrounded by fire. And it says contact. If the Phoenix returns, we will all come. Ain't that about a bitch? So, does this have a great ending? It does not. I feel like it's a good ending. It's not a great ending. Just like the story could have been so much better if the Krakoa X writers had more time, because they probably were writing, and when it was doing the Fall of X, they're like, all right, we got about a year and a half, maybe 2 years to wrap this up. And then people at Marvel pretty much told them, you know, you got about 6 months. So not the greatest positions to be in. But I'll give it up to Kieron Gillen, Jerry Duggan, Cy Spurrier, Al Ewing. You know, they could have been like, you know what, forget it. We'll just write some bullshit down and call it a day. They did not. They took the high road, and we'll talk about this once we get to the end of the video. My name is Dorian. This is SEM Comics. We are concluding our coverage of the Rise of Power of X with number 5. So our story starts off in, I like how they got it written down here, the once white, once hot room. And we see Jean being reborn as a Phoenix, like she always does. And she has a little baby Phoenix. You know what? We're going to call it Hope. You know why? Because I miss Hope. And we have Jean, who's talking to little baby Phoenix. And little baby Phoenix is explaining to her how she has come from not just Hope, but from all the mutants that are in the waiting room. Now, this is my interpretation. Feel free to let me know in the comments what your interpretation is. But the waiting room was created by Wanda during the whole trial of Magneto. That's a place where mutant souls can go. Now, when they bring people back, yeah, they bring them back, but what happens to their soul? What happens to that person's soul? It has to go somewhere. And I feel like that's where the souls were going. You'll see as this comic book progresses. That's pretty much me saying that the Phoenix is now powered by all the mutants that are in the waiting room. And if I'm not mistaken, just about every mutant on Krakoa died at least once. So that's a lot of souls that are in the waiting room. So then Jean goes to little Phoenix and says, we need to stop Enigma. Are you willing? And she goes, are you asking me, am I willing to burn away a machine of lies, Mother Me? It's what we do. Yeah, it's definitely Hope. Just less cussing. So now we switch to Krakoa, that's on Earth, and you see Rasputin 4 going, Krakoa victorious. And Rachel's like, yeah, we beat Orchis, but we're still not out the woods yet because we still got to deal with Enigma. Hopefully Jean is on that. And Scott's like, if Jean's on it, then we won. So then our beloved Sinister turns to Destiny and goes, so Destiny, did we win? Or are we just avocado spread on the toast of infinity? And Destiny goes, the second kindest thing I'm ever going to do for you, Sinister, is not share with you what I'm seeing right now. So you know it's got to be bad. So then we cut back to Jean, and Enigma called to her quick. It was like, welcome back. Sadly, your return will be brief, as we see all the Dominions are with Enigma. So he's like, all the Dominions have descended from overspace, and together we will ensure that you never threaten us ever again. And Jean pretty much looks at him and goes, one at a time or all at once, doesn't matter to me. So I'm gonna try to put it in layman's terms what's being said on this page, because you got a lot of Dominions saying a lot of things, but they're all pretty much saying one singular thing. They're pretty much saying, we don't want none of your smoke whatsoever, Phoenix. We especially don't want that fire. We ain't with this dude. All right, you got a problem with him, we ain't with him. We just want to let you know that we don't want to mess with you at all, and hopefully we will never see you again. So do what you made of this dude, we're out. And they bounce. So I'm Generation X, so you know what this reminds me of, right? Right?
Oh, you want some of this too, old man? Huh?
No.
So Enigma does his best South Park impression. It goes, you bastards. So now Jean is on her Phoenix shit, and she's like, so you come all this way to burn, huh? You must be disappointed. Now Enigma might be this all-powerful being, but don't ever get it twisted. He's still a Sinister, and you see it from what he says next. He's like, you know what, I wanted some help, but it's cool. I've raised myself higher than any other Dominion, and I did it by going the longest route imaginable. I am not afraid to fight, but ultimately I don't have to, because I have more places to hide, and you have more things I can hurt. Find me before I destroy everything that ever made you, you. And he dips out. So then we cut to Orchis headquarters. We'll probably never be saying those words again. And we have Professor Xavier standing there, and all you hear is, Enigma told me to stay away from you, but I have to ask, why are you here? And it's Moira. And Professor Xavier goes to open your mind, and next thing you know, we are back where they first met, on that park bench. So she's wondering how the hell he's doing this, because, you know, she's supposed to have all these defenses that are supposed to stop this from happening. Professor Xavier goes, you can walk away whenever you want to, I'm not holding you here. But before you leave, let me unlock this. And he unlocks the memory of him about to gun her down, which I guess he suppressed way back when. And she's like, you came back to kill me. You even pulled the trigger. He goes, yeah, I did. But I decided to go a different route and rely on your better nature. And she goes, you want me to rely on my better nature after you just told me that you was going to gun down a 13-year-old? He goes, yes, I know. I told everyone it was highly unlikely, but yet, here's where we find ourselves. And Enigma is doing his damnedest to try to stop Jean. I mean, his damnedest. He pretty much went back all the way when Professor Xavier first met with her parents, and he is trying to make her parents keep her and not release her to Professor Xavier. Jean has to fix that. Tries to make Madeline Pryor fight harder to keep Scott instead of Scott going back to Jean. Jean has to fix that. When Emma and Scott were doing the dirty behind Jean's back in Scott's mind, and then was like, no, you know what, we can do better than that. Why don't we just physically have that happen? Jean has to fix that. Now I will say this, Enigma impressed me with his powers on this one. He went back to Avengers vs Eternals vs X-Men, and the progenitor Celestial, he pretty much was able to control him, and instead of him pretty much judging Jean and judging against her, he actually judged in her favor. So yeah, that was pretty impressive, because we all know how powerful Celestials are, which he says that would have increased her arrogance and left her more vulnerable, but Jean fixed it. So then we cut back to Professor Xavier. He's talking to Moira, and he's like, look, I knew you was going to join Enigma way back when, but there's something you need to know. That's not just some space god out there in the universe. That is Nathaniel Exis. He is a Sinister. You're about to make a Sinister king of the universe. How do you feel about that? And she's like, hell, there's no way I would want to do that. But I'm not a Titan yet, and even if I was a Titan, there's no way I could beat him. He would just chew me up and spit me out. So Professor Xavier was like, look, Jean is fighting him through all space and time, but she can't land a blow on him because she can't locate him. But if you activate that signal that I put in your head when you was 13, she'll be able to find you, and in essence, we'll be able to find him. So then we cut back to Jean and Enigma, and they're going through all kinds of stuff like the Dark Phoenix saga. They're going through the Onslaught saga. I mean, they're going through when they first got to Krakoa. They're going through all these different scenarios that Jean has to fix. And Enigma is extremely confident because he is pretty much like, look, I can change all this stuff up. She has to hit her target every single time, because she just missed one time, I win. So Charles pretty much explains that all the bad things that he did, all the killing that he just got finished doing, everything to be on Orchis' side was to make sure that he was at this point to be able to talk to her about this right here. And Myra is like pissed. She's like, you bastard, I can't stand you. I would love to disappoint you, Charles. And on the next page, we see that she doesn't. She goes, hey, Jean, come and get me. And Enigma's like, you traitorous, and he doesn't get a chance to finish the statement. Professor X goes, Myra, are you? And she goes, Charles, I never. And then she is set on fire. So now we see Jean be able to find Enigma, and Enigma goes, very well, let's. And then Jean's like, doesn't matter how powerful you are, you're only you. And we're the X-Men, and we see all the souls that were in the waiting room join Jean to attack Enigma. So then Jean's like, you can't stop us all. And Enigma's like, I won. I was there. And then we see Phoenix tap into her inner Wolverine, pop some claws, and sends it right through Enigma's head. And he goes, this doesn't happen. This doesn't happen. I can hide. There has to be somewhere I can, and there's nowhere to hide. And then we come to this interesting page of Enigma. I'm not going to read them all. You guys are free to read them. All I gotta do is pick up the book and read it. And he's pretty much explaining all the different scenarios that are going on, but they all end with him, and I'm screaming. It's the second Scott Summers and Jean Grey's fingers touch for the first time, and I'm screaming. It's the moment when Galen opened up his eyes in the new universe for the first time. Galen's Galactus, if you guys don't know. And I'm screaming. It is a moment when the Phoenix rams through me 3 blades made of every mutant who has ever lived in any dimension ever. And I'm screaming. So now we cut back to Earth, and Jean comes down, and Scott's like, I knew you'd be able to do it. What happened? And Jean's like, so much. I'll tell you later. She goes and kisses Scott and goes, we got all the time in the world. So then we cut to Destiny and Raven, and Raven goes, so, my immortal love, have we won? Is Enigma dead? And Destiny goes, no, he's at the moment of death forever. So I count that as a win. So there you go, new X-Writers. There goes your gift. Enigma is not dead. And you don't got to come up with some crazy ass scheme to bring him back. He could just pull himself back together. So then Rasputin 4 goes, excellent. Now, let's kill Sinister. And she goes, where is he? So the Exodus is like, Irene, where is the heretic gone? And she goes, elsewhere. And Rasputin 4 is like, you don't understand. The guilty must pay for their sins. And then Destiny's like, oh, no, I do understand. They will. And as she says that, we cut to 1 week later. Professor Xavier's nice, clean and shaven, and he's sitting on that same park bench. And he goes, oh, thank you guys for coming so quickly. Now, take me away and throw away the key. As we see a whole bunch of police officers or military or whoever, SHIELD, could be anybody, come to arrest Professor Xavier. Yeah, he's probably gonna be Prisoner X. So on this page, pretty much I'll let you guys make heads or tails of it, but what I took from it is that the White Hot Room, if I'm not mistaken, will be inaccessible because now the Phoenix is alive again, and the only time it goes to White Hot Room is when it needs to be reborn. I could be wrong, so please let me know in the comments if I am wrong, but I think that's how that works. So the mutants that are in there are going to remain in there until they figure out a way to get them out, if there is a way to get them out. And also too, Krakoa, the Pacific side that's on Earth, is fine, and I don't think it's going anywhere unless it goes somewhere in X-Men number 35, because on the last page we see Moira. This is in the Phoenix new timeline. She does her countdown, 3, 2, 1. She goes, activate, there's nothing, and she goes, I'm free. It's over, and that's how it ends. So I know there's one more book that has to come out, which is X-Men number 35, but it looks like they're leaving a lot of meat on the bone, and they're leaving a lot for new X writers to pretty much borrow from. And that's what good writers do. They don't forget about the previous run. They take elements from the previous run and they include it in their new run. And hopefully they do that. I mean, it is a seasoned bunch that they're bringing in, so I mean, this is nothing new to them. Hopefully they do that. They don't have the big heads and be like, no, I'm gonna do this my way. Their run will be forgotten very fast if they do that. So let me know in the comments, what do you guys think of it? Me personally, I love the Krakoa Age, but I'm also excited to see what they do in this new age. Will they mess up, or no, forget, will they fuck up or will they not fuck up? That is a question, and that's what I want to see. So let me know in the comments, what do you think is going to happen?